Here now are 4 stories from the Christian heart, beginning with this story about 3,000 prom dresses, 3,000 pairs of matching shoes, and the woman who gave away all those dresses and shoes to girls who had a prom date but nothing to wear. I hope you enjoy her story of Gowns for His Glory.
Gowns for His Glory started with a dream 7 years ago to provide prom dresses and accessories to area high school girls free of charge. Prom is one of the most expensive nights in high school, and no matter what their financial situation, every girl should be able to attend her prom. I understand how important it is to these girls, but sometimes financial difficulties can make finding the perfect dress or shoes impossible because their families simply can't afford it. So, this became a unique way for me to serve and minister to the community. Now in its 7th year, Gowns for His Glory has provided over 3,000 dresses to high school teens in Virginia, West Virginia, Maryland, and Pennsylvania. There's no limitation on who we'll serve. Our motto really is, first come, all served. Gowns for His Glory is not affiliated with any other organization in the community, and we started this out of our own pockets. I've just really relied on the Lord and His direction, and our amazing community members. I really wouldn't have been able to make it happen if it wasn't for them. Each year, I get a front row seat to see the looks on their faces as the girls shop for dresses and accessories. They may not verbalize their feelings, but I know their hearts are touched deeply. It is God's plan for me to help these girls, and that's exactly what I plan on continuing to do.
Sometimes stories from the Christian heart are born out of tragedy. This is one such story. It begins almost 10 years ago with a tragic, fatal car crash. The story hasn't ended yet, but through the intervening years, the story has changed from one of despair to one of love and support for victims' families. Hear the story of We Do Care, an outreach ministry sharing love and support with young widows and their families.
On February 14, 2010, I woke up at 5 in the morning. John didn't make it home that night because he had died in a car accident. I was 34 and he was 38. We had a 3-year-old son and I was 3 months pregnant. My life took a complete turn. I felt no one could relate to me and my situation. If I went to a widow support group, the women were typically in their 70s. I had a 3-year-old son and a baby to raise, and they'd all been married 40 years with grown children. I know it's still sad, but it's very different. I always wished there was a support group for me, but there wasn't. Eventually, I began meeting with 4 young widows at casual restaurants where we would laugh, cry, talk, and vent, and say, yeah, I know what you're going through, and actually know. With John dying on Valentine's Day, I also started Gifts of Love. These are care packages given to widows and their children. The packages would include something to provide comfort or joy to let the recipients know that people love them. I always liked helping people and found my best healing came from helping others. Once this was started, God kept putting young widows in my path. I wouldn't have been able to run from it if I tried. After seeing this make a difference, I decided to create a nonprofit called We Do Care. And 3 years ago, we held our first support group in my church. It empowers widows with coping skills and gives them a way to just put one foot in front of the other. We meet once a month and have different social events for kids, women, and the whole family. It's amazing how it's grown. I just love what I do. It's definitely what God put me here to do.
Sometimes the opportunity to serve others is easy to miss or to take for granted. This next story from the Christian heart tells of a scout troop leader who was challenged to step far beyond just campfires and popcorn sales and to serve a unique group of boys who wanted to learn about scouting in a very non-traditional way. Here is Leading Boys with Special Needs.
When something you are passionate about comes to you naturally, that's how you know God's hand is in it. I have been involved in scouting in some way my entire life. My mom was a troop leader and I was a Girl Scout, so getting my children involved was a natural decision. I wanted Christian mentoring for my son outside of regular church activities, and scouting provided it. As a parent, the first years of scouting were spent at my son's troop meetings. Then, as he moved up, I began serving as my daughter's troop leader. But I also served in different areas, such as taking over the popcorn fundraising for my son's troop. Since I have a sales background, this volunteer time allowed me to use my gifts. And as a Christian, I understand the importance of having a servant's heart. However, my educational background is in speech pathology, where I also learned sign language for pursuing a career in interpreting one day. One thing led to another, and I ended up being asked to lead a troop separately from my own children. I am now the troop leader and interpreter for the South Carolina School for the Deaf and Blind. My troop has 22 boys, ranging from 6 to 15 years of age, all with visual impairments, hearing loss, or both. When I was given this opportunity, I knew it was a chance to use my God-given gifts to serve. In this role, I can speak openly about my faith in a way that is not generally accepted in the public school setting, and I can help these young men see firsthand the importance of serving others. Recently, the school residential director told me the number of demerits the boys in my troop have received has significantly decreased since they have brought scouting into their school environment. I can see the difference in the way they act and how they care for one another. Being able to use the talents God has blessed me with in a way to serve this unique demographic feels natural. And knowing God is using me to make a difference feels even better.
Our final story for this episode has just a hint of Yogi Berra logic to it. Yogi was a famous baseball player, and he had a gift with sayings that usually made the truth more understandable. Yogi was once quoted as saying, "It ain't over till it's over." And many times in life, we may think we've come to the end of something or the completion of something, only to learn that God has a different or better plan for us. So here's the story of a young couple, their specific plan to have a child, and how they ended up with a family of, well, you listen to the story and you'll see. Here's Our Family Is Now Complete.
My wife and I had a plan early in our marriage. We would have a biological child, and then we'd adopt one. And as so often happens, God had a different plan for us. My wife went through several difficulties. These were heartbreaking times for us both. We felt we were not meant to be biological parents, and that God wanted us to adopt. So we embarked on several trips to Guatemala to begin the adoption process. This was an incredible journey. We eventually adopted a baby boy, Santo. A few years later, we again tried to have a biological child. Sadly, we went through even more difficulties. My wife and I heard God's message once again. He wanted us to adopt a second child. So back to Guatemala we went, where we met our new boy named Xavier. He had special needs. He was blind, epileptic, and had other complications, but an incredible feeling came over us both. We felt God had selected us to be with Xavier. It was very obvious. We bonded immediately. Having adopted 2 children has totally changed my world. It has made me a completely different person at work, at home, everywhere. You realize what is truly important in this world. These children are such a blessing to us both. We can't imagine our lives without them. But, surprisingly, God wasn't done with us. 5 years ago, my wife found out she was pregnant, and we had our first biological child. Her 2 older brothers love their baby sister, and we thank God for our beautiful and complete family.
You can read more of our stories on our website, thechristianheart.com, or any of our Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram pages. If you like these positive, encouraging stories, please subscribe on iTunes, Google Play, or Spotify, and never miss an episode.